Welcome to the Kindness Principles podcast. I believe kindness is a cultural strategy that empowers people to create meaningful lives, healthier relationships, stronger organizations, and a world where everyone can thrive. My name is Cindy Smarsh, and I'm really glad you're here. So much for being here with me today. Cindy Smarsh with the Kindness Principles podcast. Today's your lucky day because I have a superhero with me, like a real live superhero. His name is Randy McNeely, and he is Captain Kindman. And I am so excited to have this conversation today because he's out there doing the work, spreading kindness, teaching others to be courageously kind. And so we're going to have a wonderful conversation. And we thank you for joining us today. So, Randy or Captain Kindman, would you please introduce yourself to our guests today?
Absolutely. And I just have to say, I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to be here with you, Cindy. Thank you so much for your kindness in inviting me to come and join you and maybe share a little bit with your audience that hopefully we're going to find is useful.
Yeah.
My name's Randy McNeely, and I am Captain Kindman. My tagline is the superhero of courageous kindness. The reality is, it doesn't, you know, just because I put a shirt on that says Captain Kindman or wear a cape, that doesn't make me a superhero. But what really does, and anybody can do this, what makes you a superhero is when you have the courage to step up and step into kindness when the opportunities present themselves,
Mhm.
particularly in times when it may not be so easy. Courageous kindness means to extend love through kindness to everyone,
Mm.
regardless of the circumstances. And that's not an easy thing. And
No,
so, but
not always.
just a little bit about me. I am a father, a husband. I have 5 children. I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor of multiple forms of childhood abuse. I went through all kinds of challenges and trauma as a young man, and got to a point where I wanted to commit suicide, wanted to just end it because there was just too much going on. But two
Oh,
things saved me. One, I knew that God would not be happy with me if I did that. And
mm,
two, I had friends and family and people around me who extended love toward me through kindness. I
yeah,
can sit here and I can tell anybody, I know kindness saves lives
yes,
because it saved mine.
yes.
It saved mine, and I've seen it save other people's lives. And so I do what I do, first of all, because I'm a Christian. I believe in God and Jesus Christ, and I believe in the statement, love your neighbor as yourself.
Mm,
And particularly,
mhm.
you notice that as yourself part. I try to love myself, and that makes it easier for me to love my neighbor. Because if I'm really hating on me, it's hard to be kind to others.
Yeah,
But
sure.
I'm a reformed, what I'll call a reformed cybersecurity expert. Or or information security officer. I
Wow.
used to go around and assess, do HIPAA security and privacy assessments as well as security assessments at hospitals and health organizations all over the country, as well
Wow.
as I worked for 10 years in the as a government contractor and lived in the secret spook world, if you will,
Wow.
for a long time. And so I call myself, I'm a reformed from that because I left and I've gone through recovery and hopefully I'm doing a lot better than I was. No, and that's not to knock any of my friends who are in information security and stuff like that, but I found that world, having to deal with all the various things that go on there, that just wasn't where I was the happiest. So I stepped
Yeah.
away and stepped into something else. And
Wow. Yeah. It sounds like you were living in your left brain, working in your left brain in a big
uh,
way. And now you moved over to the right side of your brain, it sounds like, right?
well, I had to align with I'm a left-hander, and they say the left-handed people are the only people in the right mind. So no, I had to align with that.
Oh, that's great. Well, I love, you know, what you said there. And there's so much that we could unpack just from your introduction. But one of the things I heard you say is kindness to self needs to come first
Yeah,
before we can ripple it out, right? And
yeah,
I so try to stress this in my work as a coach and a trainer and speaker and so forth as well, because I just know this is to be true. We must be kind to ourselves, and
yeah,
it's probably one of the greatest challenges of humans all over is to be kind to themselves.
Well, it is. And you think about this. One of the things I talk about when I go out and speak about kindness, particularly that I'm going to be talking about a lot more because I just created a framework called what I call the courageous kindness shift.
Mm.
And when you first hear it, see people differently, think
Mm-hmm.
about people differently,
Mm.
feel differently,
Mm-hmm.
listen differently, and
Mm.
respond differently. And you think,
Wow.
okay, well, that see people, that
Yeah.
includes ourselves. We have to see and think about ourselves,
Yeah.
remind ourselves that, I'm a person, I'm a human being, I have value. I believe I can do great things. I believe that I can make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have to listen to my thoughts because I want to parse out those thoughts that are not conducive to helping me feel good about myself. We all have detrimental or angry or negative thoughts from time to time. There's no getting around that.
Mm-hmm.
But the key is whether or not how long we allow them to dwell in our heads.
Yeah. Yeah,
Is
for
big part of
sure.
being kind to ourselves is being kind in our self-talk.
Yes.
And and you know, I just had the opportunity to read this fantastic book by Cloud Silver called Be Yourself at Work. And
Oh.
one of the stories she shares in that book is about when she was like 19 years old. She was going through this really arduous 93-day um, wilderness survival thing, to learn how
My goodness.
to take, to deal with all kinds of different challenges. But
Wow.
she describes how at one point she was feeling so sorry for herself
Uh,
and almost to the point of tears as they're hiking up this mountain. And when the counselor comes back to her, what's going on in your mind? And she explained, all the negative things, and the counselor just took her, you need to sing a different song.
oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
need to get a different song in your head.
I agree.
And when if we're feeling negative or down on ourselves, we need to get a different song in our head, a different way of thinking, and
For
and
sure.
and stop that because
Hmm.
if we can't, if we can't be kind to ourselves or think kind thoughts towards ourselves, like I already said, it's going to be very hard to be able to look at other people and think kind thoughts or encourage and invite them to think kind thoughts about themselves or towards others. Does that make any sense?
Totally. I totally agree with you. I language it in my business as, we all have that negative self-talk you're talking about is our inner critic. And
Yeah.
I say shift your inner critic to your inner coach because coaches are encouraging, coaches believe in you, coaches
I
help
love that. Change from
tap
your inner
into your
critic to your
strengths. So
yeah.
turn your inner critic into your inner coach. And that is all about self-compassion and kindness to the self. And yeah, it's so important. I love that story too. It's such a great example. So do you want to talk us through that courageous kindness shift you were saying? Because you said you talked through it very quickly, but can we break it down a little bit to really teach us how to apply this in just our regular old daily lives, like when something
Yeah.
comes?
I can teach you the principles, but it takes practice.
Yeah, sure.
First principle is see people as people.
Mm-hmm.
In our day and time, too many times we see people as objects. There's something
Mm-hmm.
there to be used. They're a means to an end. We even treat ourselves that way,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, and we objectify ourselves, or we feel like or we see and objectify other people. Well,
Yeah,
recognize it. I don't know. There's not a person on this planet that doesn't have some basic needs. One of
sure.
some of those needs are the need to love and be loved. To
Mm-hmm.
love other people and to feel love from other people, to feel important, to feel valued, and to breathe, to eat, to sleep.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
if you take the time to talk to people and actually get it in a conversation, if you ask somebody, what does happiness look like for you? Most people are going to come back with almost the same answers, and it doesn't matter where you're from. And say, I want to make a difference in this world. I want to be happy. I want to have enough for me, and I want to be able to help other people and do
Yes.
those things. And so if we take the time to get to know people, to see people that way, and as we see people that way, we start thinking about, we think differently. We need to think about you know, people in the and as people, and think about them as being having the similar needs that we have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as we see and think about people, as human beings that deserve to be valued, the way we feel about people is going to change. You know,
Mm.
the way we feel. You know, sometimes it's easy. You know, there's people that I've had disagreements with in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had to re-examine how I approach things or how I even look back on those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
For the longest time, there were times when, you know, certain experiences, and I'm not going to get into details, but certain experiences, I'd look back with a lot of anger and
Mm.
frustration.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had to go through a period where I thought, "No, you know, I wonder how much of that was my problem,
Mm.
not theirs. How much of that was me just being a bonehead? I mean, really, and taking ownership of the fact that I made mistakes. You know,
Mm.
there's people. My father made some heinous mistakes, and I'm not going to take responsibility for any of those.
Mm-hmm.
But how I responded to a lot of those things, I made some major mistakes.
Mm.
I held a lot of hate and anger inside me for a long time.
Mm.
And you know what that did? That just poisoned the well. That poisoned me from the inside out. And when you're carrying that poison around with you, it's a lot easier to be nasty to other people. You know,
Absolutely, and it doesn't help you either. And
it doesn't.
it reminds me of the work of Jack Canfield, who teaches E plus
Yeah,
R equals O. And what he's saying is E is the experience or the event, right? And R is our response or reaction to it, which is what we have control over. And then
yeah,
O, it equals O, our outcome. And so he teaches about that personal responsibility for our own reaction or response to things. We're not always responsible for the experience.
no,
Sometimes experiences happen to us, happen around
yeah,
us. Events occur that we can't control, but we can take responsibility for the reaction and the response. And when we can throw kindness in there, or grace or compassion or
yeah.
respect or any of those, love, light, any of those things toward ourselves and others involved, it changes the outcome of the situation for sure.
Yeah. Well, and when you think about it, when you see people differently, think about them differently, feel differently towards them, you're
Mm-hmm.
much more open to listening with the intent to understand. You want to understand what makes people tick, why they think the way they think. You
Yes.
know, especially if you've had a chance to humanize them,
Mm-hmm.
because then we live in a world that dehumanize. We're constantly dehumanizing each other, especially on anti-social media.
Yeah. Yes.
So, and when we've had a chance to go through that process and recognize that, hey, you know, I need to understand with the intent, you know, listen with the intent to understand, so
Mhm.
I can build some bridges of understanding, or cross some divides here.
Yes.
And when we listen with the intent to understand, other people are going to be more open to listening with the intent to understand us. And then
Yeah.
we can find ways, even when there's disagreement, that's when you open up the pathway to be
Mhm.
able to find areas that you can build on.
Yes, connection, right?
Connection.
If we don't
Exactly.
listen, or we don't try to understand, or we don't offer ourselves to hopefully be understood, we can't create connection. And like you said,
Exactly.
humans have some basic needs and we all have them, and it's connection, belonging, and that we matter, that our lives matter. And those can be found through listening for sure, and really seeing people, like you said, seeing people. Like, to me, seeing people as people, you said, and I get that. And I thought, well, to me, the word that stands out for me in that phrase is see, like really see each other,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we sometimes we don't really see people, like they're just in our midst, and we don't. I don't know. It's where sometimes it's like a lot of us are living unconscious lives where we're just going through the motions of our day. We're going through the things we need to do, and we're just trying to get it done. We don't mean to be unconscious, but someone can be in your midst that you don't even notice, that might really need a hand, and you might miss it, if you're not
Well, yeah,
really conscious of what's
if
going
you're
on.
not paying attention.
Yeah,
and
we got to pay attention.
and I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. I'm going to
Mm.
once we get, so see people
Yep. Yep.
differently, think differently, feel differently, listen differently, and
Mm.
that opens up the ability to respond differently, to come with open hands,
Mm-hmm.
ready to respond differently rather than closed fists ready to hurt. We want
Yes.
to have open hands and respond in a way that's going to be conducive to building relationships, to building bridges, and to bridging the gaps between where we might where there might be division, breaking down that division and the polarization and things like that we face.
Mm-hmm.
And here, but there's then another method to that. Underneath that is what I call the ICA method.
Mm.
It works hand in hand with the courageous kindness shift. That's where we identify the behaviors by which we show value and appreciation. What does it look like to see somebody differently? What are the behaviors that I exhibit that align with seeing, thinking, and feeling differently about somebody, listening better, and clarifying those things. What are those behaviors? And clarify what actions we take to exhibit those behaviors, if that makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
and then amplify them, practice them. An
Mm.
easy way to practice kindness and those behaviors that show value and appreciation for me is what I call the kindness givers formula.
Mm.
Three things working together: the courageous kindness shift, the ICA method, and the kindness givers formula. And the kindness givers formula, 5 simple steps.
Okay.
Every day, get up and think, I'm going to be a kindness giver today. I'm going to see people differently, think about them differently, feel differently, etc. I'm going to be a
Okay.
kindness giver.
Okay. So just even making that intention, starting the
Making that, setting that as your intention every day when you get up, look in the mirror. I'm going to be a kindness giver today. That
kindness.
puts,
I like that.
when we do that, what that does, it puts it top of mind
It does.
from the beginning of the day.
It's like you're making a commitment with yourself.
Yeah.
Just a
Like
wonderful.
my friend Jason Hewlett, an amazing guy, would say, you're making a promise. You're keeping the promise to yourself when you do that. The second thing is, take 5 or 10 minutes and stop and think about who you're going to be with, where you're going to be, what you're going to be doing that day,
Okay.
and think of potential opportunities to be kind in those situations.
Oh,
It
wow.
takes
I
some,
have never done that. I don't think I've ever done that, like what you're saying. Like, so this is before we're out
before
there
the,
starting the day.
yeah,
We're looking in the mirror. We're like, okay, I'm going to be a kindness giver today. And then kind of going over our calendar, or like what's on our list or on our calendar, and going, what opportunities do I already see that I could be kind?
potentially be kind. And
Oh,
I
that's
say potential.
good.
I say potential because
Yeah.
and I know as well as you know as well as I do that even when we have things planned out, our plans never go exactly the way we think they.
Life can happen, right?
Life
Any
happens,
day,
stuff happens.
right?
But you take, at least you're saying, I'm going to be a kindness giver, and
Yes.
here's the potential ways that I can do that. You're thinking about that,
That.
and
Yeah.
then you go forward. The third step is go out and look for and act on opportunities to be kind.
Mm.
And I'm going to say right here, I emphasize this every time I talk about this. There are no random acts of kindness.
Oh, now you could get some pushback about that,
I
right?
could.
Out there from
I,
people.
I
Well,
could. You
random.
got the Random Acts of Kindness Foundation and stuff like that, which is great.
Oh,
And the
absolutely.
reality is, and the reason I make that argument is because every time we are kind, it's because we've chosen to be kind.
So it's
We choo-
intentional acts of kindness,
we
really,
choose,
what
we
you're
choose
trying to say.
every single time we do something kind. It's because we chose, nobody's forced us to, we chose to do it.
Mm.
What there is out there, though, I will throw out there, there are all kinds of random opportunities for kindness
Ah,
that present themselves. The random
okay.
opportunities are there all the time if we're
Yeah.
looking. And it comes back to what we were talking about earlier. If you're paying attention, you can see them. A lot of times we get going through life. Perfect example. I had a lady that I talked to her about the kindness givers formula. I gave her a challenge. Practice this for a week and just see how it impacts your life.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
she came back to me at the end of the week and she said, Randy, good grief. I realized that there were all these things around me, all these opportunities around me that I had not noticed because I was not paying attention. I
Yeah.
was going through my life, going through the motions, just like we were talking about earlier. And
Yes.
I hadn't noticed those things because I was not paying attention. But when I started intentionally looking for opportunities to be kind, they were popping up like daisies
Oh,
in
wow.
various ways. I mean, she didn't put it exactly like that, but she said
You
I
saw the
noticed
difference,
there were so many more opportunities that I saw.
though.
And so I say, look for and act on as many opportunities to be kind as you reasonably can, as reasonable. We can't do
Yes.
everything, but
Yes.
we can reasonably do more than one act of kindness in a day. I firmly believe that.
Oh,
Set one as a goal, but if you can do more, do more. And
oh my
then
gosh.
the fourth step is invite and encourage other people to do the same thing.
Spread
Invite,
the challenge around.
you're
Mhm.
amplifying what the behaviors and things that you talked about earlier, amplify
Huh.
the kindness. And then the final step that I encourage people to do is at the end of the day, take a few minutes and reflect on your experiences that you had with kindness during the day and write them down.
Mm,
And that does two things. First of all, it ingrains them more fully into your heart and in your mind because
sure.
you get that you're taking the time to think about it and then
Mhm.
writing them down, writing out your thoughts and getting it on paper. That's a
Mhm.
process of ingraining it here in your heart and in your mind.
Mhm.
And then the other thing it does is it records it there so that you have it for a rainy day. There's not a person on this planet that doesn't have what I call rainy days. Even when the sun is shining, we may have days where we're down or discouraged.
Sure.
And you can go pull up that journal and reread those events and recreate those experiences and re-experience the same feelings and thoughts that you had that day when it happened.
Mhm.
Your body
Yeah.
will re-release the
Mhm.
dose, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin,
Yes.
and endorphins.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
so,
kind of raise your vibration just from reliving the experiences you had that day. And it's kind of like my kudos file. I have a thing called a kudos file in my file cabinet. And
yeah,
anytime somebody sends me like a thank you note for whatever, or tells me great job at something or whatever, I stick it in my kudos file. So if I'm having a day where I just feel, not as on my game, or I'm a little
yeah,
blue, or I just off center. Sometimes
sure.
I pull out my kudos file and remind myself, oh yeah, you are making a difference, or you have made a difference, or it mattered what you did, or they appreciate you, or
Yeah,
whatever. It's just a nice it's a really nice thing to revisit those good memories that we have, whether it's us being kind to someone intentionally or making an impact in a way we didn't even realize or whatever. But I love the intention behind these steps of the kindness givers formula. I really love the intention you've set the stage around there, and really just getting into that from the minute you get up in the morning, and staying thoughtful about it all the way through, and ending your day, like circling back around to it,
yeah,
to kind of put the bookends in the day based on kindness. Wow,
yep.
if everybody did that, Captain Kindman, what could happen in the world, I wonder.
Imagine what could happen. I mean, think about that. I can't tell you how impactful trying to live that formula has been for my life.
Mm,
You know, because I'm not perfect. I make mistakes every day. I do and say dumb things. Or I don't do some things, or I forget something, or whatever. But
sure.
as I try to have tried to live that formula and intentionally looking for opportunities to be kind, I've
Hmm.
discovered greater ways that I can be kinder to myself because I'm like you're saying, I'm a pro at being my inner critic. It's being my inner coach that I'm learning how to do a much better job at, and
Good.
subduing the inner critic and
Yay.
and 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 putting the inner critic in jail. No,
Yeah,
I don't know.
good idea.
But
Fire the inner critic. The inner
I'm firing
critic's
the inner critic.
fired.
I've hired the new the inner coach, the one that's,
Yeah.
but the reason I was bringing that up, as we intentionally strive to do these things, as I have intentionally striven to be more kind,
Mhm.
I've been able to build tremendous relationships. I have a lot of LinkedIn relationships. I've never met you before until somebody introduced us through LinkedIn. We reached out and we've connected. I have
Mhm.
so many people that I've connected with through LinkedIn that I've never met in person,
Yes.
but that I cherish the relationships with them
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
we've become, well, virtual friends, if you will. I mean, because
Yeah.
we have a lot in common, and we've been able to build solid relationships, and even
Mhm.
in areas where we may not agree on specific things, but we can agree to disagree without being disagreeable, and
Yes, be
and
respectful and find our connecting points that really where we can get on
yeah,
board together and make a difference together. And yeah,
exactly.
it's great. I mean, it's and what I find I think doing this work, I hope and I bet you will agree with this, is that there's a lot more kindness going on than we hear
There is,
about.
there
We don't
is.
hear the kindness highlights of the day in the world, right? We hear what's
You're all the
dismantling.
negativity because that's what
Yeah,
people get sucked into.
yeah, it's drama sells, and we're not, you and I aren't trying to deny there's tough things going on in the world, of course, but there's so much goodness going on. And I think when you make the kind of connections that you're talking about that you've made with so many people on LinkedIn and so forth, you see the goodness going on around you, like you see it everywhere you go.
You do, and well, and it's amazing. You can find what you're looking for. If you want to find the negativity, you're going to find it. If you want
It's
to
true.
find, if you want to choose to be aggressive or grouchy or angry, it's really
Yep.
easy to do. And
Great opportunities for that out there.
there are. I mean, every time you get on social media, there's an opportunity almost immediately to be.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
respond with a snide remark or be vitriolic or nasty or but it takes a lot more courage and a lot more self-discipline
Hmm.
when you want to respond with a snide remark or say something to stop and think, is this gonna make the situation any better? Is it gonna lift or build the person that I'm responding to in any way? And
Yeah.
if you can't say yes to that,
Hmm.
then controlling yourself not to make the remark.
Yes. Yeah.
It's really easy to get on and just be real nasty. I'm gonna take
Well,
this,
yes,
say this, and no,
we all are human. We're very reactive.
yeah,
We are all wired to experience a wide range of emotions, right? And we can have experiences, see something, hear something, read something, have somebody look at us sideways, and it can just push that button. Yeah, where we just like, yeah, oh, see, even Captain Kindman, he's looking at me sideways. But anyway, we can get we can really get upset, triggered,
yeah,
concerned or fearful or anxious or whatever, and then we're not as equipped to put our best foot forward. And so part of the whole kindness movement, and really getting there as a worldwide community, is working on ourselves so we really are centered and really know who we actually are and the love that we are, and to act from that foundation, and
sure,
understanding our value without somebody else having to affirm us or whatever, and then letting some of those times when somebody else is off center or has done something, said something, not done something, that we don't have to jump over the fence and get violent emotionally or aggressive physically. Or you have a word for that courageous kindness versus what is it, cowardly
cowardly aggression.
aggression. Yeah, I like that,
I
choosing
mean,
courageous kindness.
really, I call it cowardly because it doesn't take any bravery or courage to embrace aggression. It takes
No,
none. I mean, some people
just a
may say,
reaction.
"Oh, well, I'm going to get angry and I'm going to go do this," and it takes a lot of courage to go do. Well, the reality is, it takes a lot more courage to discipline yourself not to do that.
Yeah, for sure, I agree.
You
For
know,
sure, it takes
and
work, it's a practice, just like you
it
said.
is
All these kindness initiatives you've explained to us today, is it takes practice, but it can make or break someone's life, as you shared, even in your own
sure.
life. But also, I like to think of like dialing it down to just some of the most common human experiences we have. For example, I go to the grocery store every weekend or whatever, and last time I was just the other day, the lines were long, and I could tell that the clerk in the line I was in was pretty tired. She just looked like she'd been standing there, who knows how long. And I thought, here's an opportunity, right, to be kind. And so
Yeah.
I just, I just was really friendly, very patient, just, I mean, and I know sometimes we're in a rush too, and as shoppers, and people can get frustrated if something doesn't, add up right on the machine, or something doesn't scan well, or they get the change wrong, whatever it is. But it's like
Yeah.
we can even just show patience, when someone's trying to serve us in some way, whether it's in the grocery store line, at a restaurant, when someone's trying to, take care of us there, or road driving on the road and not take every move from another driver personally, and just drive kindly and keep our cool. I mean, there's so many just basic human experiences where kindness can change the trajectory of the day, of the event, of the experience for everyone.
Well, and I appreciate that. Do you mind if I share a quick story about where kindness totally changed the trajectory of multiple lives?
No, we don't want to hear that here.
You
Yes,
know,
please.
my wonderful friend Zach Demopoulos, it's this big Greek guy, another guy that I have never met in person. I just know him through LinkedIn, and we've talked on the phone and stuff a few times. And he was kind enough. He came and we interviewed him for the Kindness Factor podcast earlier this year, or maybe it was last year. I don't remember. But
Uh-huh.
he which the podcast is on hiatus for a little while right now. But anyway,
Okay.
he shared this story, and he's given me permission to share this. I spoke about this when I was in Palermo last year, so I guess yeah, he must have shared it with me last year, unless I'm psychic and he shared it with me this year, and I just knew it ahead of time. No, but
Psychic and kind and psychic. Wow.
I'm the Captain Kindman, the psychic, or the psycho. I don't know. um, Anyway, he shared this story, and it is a powerful example of
Okay.
courageous kindness. Zach was a young man. He was 14. His father owned a restaurant, a hamburger restaurant called Zach's Hamburgers. His father was Zach Sr., and my friend Zach was Zach Jr.
Uh,
And he owned this restaurant. And one night, he and his father were getting ready to close up, and there was one of their employees was there. And his father caught that employee stuffing hamburgers into her bag.
oh,
And
she was stealing them.
yeah, she was
Okay.
basically
Uh-oh.
stealing them, sticking them in her bag, taking a bunch of hamburgers, and Zach saw what happened and saw his father catch her, and Zach was just like, man, he said I was stressing out. I was like, man, what's Dad gonna do? Is he gonna call the police? Are we gonna is he gonna kick her out? Is he gonna fire her? You know what's gonna happen? How's he gonna react to this? And then Zach said, my father taught me the lesson of a lifetime. You're gonna have to forgive me. I get a little emotional about when I think about this because it's just a powerful story. He
Okay.
taught me the lesson of a lifetime. He said, I'm sitting there waiting to see what he says, and he says to her, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I haven't been kind enough to you, good enough to you, to where you felt like you could come to me if you were having challenges and ask for help.
Wow.
And
Oh my.
he says, I promise if you'll stay with me, I'll do better at that. And
Oh
Zach was just,
my
yeah,
God.
just blown away.
That is mind
I
blowing.
mean, think about what just happened with just that experience.
Wow.
Zach Jr.
Yes,
saw the power of extending mercy where justice could have taken its pound of flesh,
for
if you
sure.
will. And
Oh, for sure.
justice, he saw the power of extending mercy. The lady just totally broke down and apologized and did ask for help and Zach's father did help her and she ended up staying with him for 15 more years and
Wow.
became his most loyal employee.
Wow.
And and I guarantee you, she had children at home she was trying to feed. That's why she'd been taking the hamburgers. He
Yeah,
says,
part.
Zach said to her, and I told him, I said, you know, I can guarantee you that those children heard that story, heard what happened, and they have never forgotten it. And
Yes.
they have told it to other people, and
And
it's
they
gone
told
out
people.
in ripples. But think about
Yes.
this, and how and Zach told me, he says, you're right. He said, and I can tell you that when my father passed away just a few years ago, who do you think was sitting on the front row with all of her kids?
Oh,
That employee was sitting right there. She was there. She loved him. And
oh
she loved him because he extended love to her through
yes.
kindness.
And he
He,
didn't have to.
he didn't
If
have to.
society would have said, hey, you've got all kinds of choices that are legitimate choices in
Yeah,
this scenario, but
yeah,
he took the highest road he could.
he did.
And I love him for that. I
And
respect him for
think of
that.
all the lives he changed because of that.
And we don't
He,
even know how many.
we have no idea.
We know the ones he did change, but we
Well,
don't.
and we know indirectly that
Yes,
he impacted a lot of people that Zach Jr. worked with. Zach
of
became, worked in
course.
HR, and he never forgot his father's lesson. And he always was always gave the benefit of the doubt and tried to, to find
Yes.
out exact, he basically said, I was able to help people avoid supervisors and people avoid situations that could have been very tragic.
Oh,
There's people that were going to get fired that I was able to keep them from getting fired and help their leaders
wow.
to understand how they could approach things differently.
Oh my
And
God.
those employees became some of the best employees that the company he was working with had ever had. And it's
Well,
only
that's
because
just it. We
he saw them
respond.
differently. He
Yeah.
saw them differently.
Yes, he saw them.
Zach's father, Zach's father saw that lady differently. He thought
Yes.
about her differently. He felt differently towards her. He listened to understand why she was doing what she did. And then he opened his hands to her and he responded differently to her. He
Yes.
invited her to come and sit at the Zach's Hamburger table, the friendship table, the kindness table,
Oh,
join and come and be part of our family.
mm-hmm. For
And
sure.
so that example right there tells you, that shows, I mean, that perfectly illustrates the power of
Perfect.
courageous kindness.
It does. That is the perfect story. I am so grateful you shared it. I can't imagine a better way to end this podcast than that, just emphasizing all the truths that come from that story, and it just proves that we can be kind under any circumstances, and it can be life altering and have a ripple effect that's unbelievable. And I know you know that a lot of the work that I'm doing now is to work on the workplace as being a place where kindness is actually the culture, it's the strategy, it's the approach, it's the key. And that this story speaks to that as well, that that you can create employee loyalty by handling people with kindness. People respond well to kindness. They know it, they feel it, and they want to be around that. They want that feeling and they want to give it as well. So,
Well, it's a great example of the value proposition of kindness.
mm,
Like you said, what happened because of that experience? That lady became his most loyal employee. Well, what do you think? How do you think she talked about Zach's Hamburgers whenever she was out with her friends? Without,
oh
you know, they got
gosh, yeah.
not only employee loyalty, they got free advertising through her. I
For
mean,
sure.
I can guarantee you that not I'm willing to bet that hundreds of people came to
Probably.
Zach's Hamburgers because of her word of mouth
It
experience.
makes me want to go
And
there. I mean, does this
yeah,
place even still exist? Where is it? I mean,
no,
it really
it
does.
doesn't. It's, Zach Senior has passed away and the restaurant's gone, but at least I think it is. I don't know. You'd have to reach out to, I
But we
guess,
want to
reach out to Zach.
support that kind
His
of,
brother might have it still. I don't know.
maybe he
But
does.
you think about that, it created loyalty.
Hmm.
It created free opportunity, word of mouth
Hmm.
experiences. And it inspired Zach Jr. it rippled out through him and his work in HR, and he even told me he had an experience where he had the chance to use the same line as his father with somebody else when he was older.
Wow.
And think about that. All those things, the value proposition is it builds loyalty, it inspires um, uh, great customer service. It'll create new customers because and bring in repeat customers because of the care and the kindness that is there. It opens the door for greater creativity, greater collaboration, greater communication, less toxicity, less politics you have to deal with, all those different things. And that
On and on.
all has a direct impact on your bottom line.
Absolutely. It totally
If you
does.
don't have to deal with turnover and the hundreds and thousands of dollars that go with high turnover,
Awesome. Yes.
think about what you can do with that money. You can
Oh
put it
my.
reinvest it in so many other places. It's,
Yeah.
there's a whole lot to talk about when it comes to the value proposition of kindness for a business, for individuals, for communities, for anyone that gets involved with it, because of the power it has to build relationships of trust
For
and to
sure.
bridge gaps.
And making it safe for humans to be humans because they
Yeah,
know that they'll be okay even when they make mistakes or fall short
yeah,
in some way, and that they have a soft place to fall when maybe they don't show up at their best or aren't sure what to do, and that they'll be nurtured back to the best of themselves through kindness. So
yeah, yeah. And when you have great people working for you, you're gonna have a great company. And when they feel safe and they feel cared for, I guarantee you they're going to want to do just like that lady did for Zach's dad. They're going to want to be your best and most loyal employees because they know you have their back.
for sure, for sure. Oh, we could go on
A long
all
time.
day, couldn't we? We could.
We could. My
And I
goodness, the
just
time has flown.
thank you. It did. It flew so fast, but I just thank you so much for being here and joining me today. I've loved this conversation. I so support you and what you're out there doing. I just thank you so much for everything you've shared today. It's been a wonderful conversation. And really, I think you've given people a lot to consider in just making kindness a part of their consciousness, a part of their daily intention. And the more people that hear that from you, the even better this world's going to get. So I thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to be here with you, Cindy. Thank you so much for having
Before
me.
we wrap things up, Captain Kindman, where can people get a hold of you if they'd like to learn more about what you're doing and what you have to offer?
Best place they can go is to captainkindman.com. They
Fab.
go there, or they can get on LinkedIn and look at my profile, look up Captain Kindman on LinkedIn. But you go to captainkindman.com, that talks about the speaking opportunities that I bring, and as well as the workshops and other things that I do. So yeah, that's the best place to reach out to me.
Awesome. And you have a book, right?
I do. It's called the Kindness Givers Formula 2.0. And it
Perfect.
basically, it goes in more depth into the formula that I shared earlier, and also has a bunch of great stories about the form, that are great examples of the formula in action. So
Oh, that's
they
really
can get that on Amazon.
okay, cool. Well, listen, we'll put all those links that you shared in the show notes. And I encourage any and all of you to reach out to Captain Kindman if you'd like a new superhero in your life. Red cape and all, he's here. And I know he'd welcome a great conversation and an opportunity to serve in any way that he could. So I appreciate that. Appreciate you again. And I will talk to you all again soon. Bye bye. Thank you
Bye.
so much for being here. Please like and subscribe to our show and share this episode with anyone who can benefit. If you'd like to learn more about how the kindness principles can change your life, please DM me on LinkedIn. And thanks again for listening.